Now, if we go back to evolution for 1 second, I'm going to be using a lot of anthropomorphic language. But I think it's very important that we all realize, myself included, and of course you, that plants and animals evolved, multicellular plants and animals evolved independently. That for the past 2 billion years, multicellular plants and multicellular animals have evolved independently of each other. The evolutionary pressures, though, have been the same. For example, if we look at the largest land mammal, an elephant, and the largest plant, the sequoia tree, we see that they have similar problems. These problems are how to hold themselves up, for example, or how to circulate nutrients and water within their bodies. It's the same problem, but let's look at how they've solved the problem through evolution. The elephant evolved a skeletal system which is very dense. It's very strong in order to hold its weight. And if you look at the bones, for example, of an elephant and the bones of a bird, they're completely different. The form and the function is separate. The form is dense in an elephant. The function is to hold the weight. The form in a bird is very loose, very hollow bones, because the function is to be light so that they can fly. If we look at a sequoia tree, it also needs to hold its massive weight. It doesn't have a bony skeleton, but it has a very strong lignified, that's the chemical in the trunk, lignin, which enables it to support its huge weight. Same problem, different solutions. How does an elephant circulate water and nutrients throughout its body? With a huge heart and a blood pressure that's so high that it would kill any human. On the other hand, sequoia trees have huge pipes for transporting water from their roots up to their leaves. The pipes that transport water are completely different than the pipes that have blood in mammals, but the functions are the same. So we need to realize and to remember that while I'm using anthropomorphic language, there is a very, very distant connection between the plants and animals. So throughout the course, we need to look at how does plant form fit its function? And what were the evolutionary pressures that led to these forms? And how do these forms actually allow us to understand what were the pressures that the plant evolved on? What were the pressures that led to the evolution of plant senses? Now, the term plant senses, again, I realize is anthropomorphic for many of you. While you can understand that humans have senses, so can we really talk about the basis of plant senses, the genetic or molecular basis of plant senses? Can we say that plants see? What is sight? You know, it's sensing electromagnetic waves and then responding to it. And all of next week's lecture, we're going to be dealing, what does a plant see? Can we talk about smelling and tasting? You know, if we define smelling and tasting as detecting soluble molecules either in water or in the food or in the air, do plants do this? Is this really the same thing as smelling? Do plants know when they're being touched? Can they feel mechanical sensations? Do plants hear? You know, many of us have heard stories about plants thriving in classical music. Is this really true? Do plants hear what's going on around them? There's another sense. We actually have more than 5 senses. We have 6 senses. The 6th sense is called equioperception. The 6th sense is not ESP. Equioperception is our ability to know where we are in space. How I can scratch the back of my head, how we can brush our teeth in the dark, how we know up from down. We actually only consider this sense when we lose it, for example, like when we've had too much to drink. By the same manner, how do plants know where up and down is? How do they know, how do the branches balance in the air? And towards the end of the class, I want to ask a very controversial question. Can we say that plants remember? Do plants have any form of memories? Before we continue, I want to just tell you a little bit about the class. We have a few textbooks for the class. First textbook is the book I've written called What a Plant Knows. This will be covering all of the material that's in the class. In addition, there are 2 biology textbooks that you could be using. One is called The Biology of Plants by Peter Raven. You can find information for it on the class site. And the other one is called Biology by Campbell. So these are the biology textbooks that go into the biology, the classic biology, a little bit more in depth than What a Plant Knows does.